Hi, my name is Francis Solis, and I decided to do my project on chapter 4, which is giving your first speech. I chose this because when I was reading it, it gave out good tips on how you should deliver your first speech and what to do, not to do, since it's important because throughout our whole lives, we're going to be giving out so many speeches, even when we were younger, with show and tell. We were like, that was our first speech. And then as we grow older, the more intense it will be. And the reason I want to cover it, as I said earlier, was because everyone needs to know. The reason I want to cover it is because of the helpful tips it gave out and how everyone should be able to know about these tips, even though you can go online. I believe that these tips would work better. So, in the portion I picked, preparing your speech, this is where you're gonna be able to develop your speech, which meaning this is the main point. This is how you're making your speech. This is the building block. This is where you're going to focus on your topic, which is important to stay on the subject. It's the reason being because you don't want to talk about your subject and then you're going to wander off and talk about the weather or how's everyone's day going, or I don't know, what's your favorite shoe brand. It's important to stay on topic of your subject. To not lose focus is to be able to tell the audience, hey, this is what my speech is about. This is the topic. Don't listen to anything else. Don't worry about what shoe brand it is, what shoe brand is popular. Just focus on this. This is also where you're going to start finding ways to structure your speech. Creative, meaningful, suspicious, mysterious, any kind of thing to keep your audience locked in. Be like, have like a little suspicious tone going on, find a little excitement, and anything that's going to make your audience pay attention to your speech. Be like, hey, listen to me. This is my speech. Another point that they had in here is when you're trying to find creative ways to structure your speech, you also want to put in stories or anything that the audience can relate. Say, if you had a parent who was in the military, and you're going to find other people whose parents were in the military as well, that they can relate to that, with the moving around a lot, having your parents deploy, or say you have a big family, how that's like, gatherings, how's that different for someone who's the only child. This is where you're going to find ways to have your audience relate to. This where they'll be like, oh, okay, this person gets me. Let me focus locked in. Let me focus and locked in my attention on them. Also, in this section, this is where you're able to use colorful language. Like, say you're making up, but you have a joke, use it. Make sure it's appropriate, does not offend anyone, and then have the audience have a good laugh. Have them on the good vibe boat, as I call it. Just make sure no one's, left out. No one's like offended by anything. This is where you really want to structure and like, hey, let's do this, let's not do this, let's see what's offensive, let's not. Because to us, it might not be offensive, but to someone else, it could be offensive. So this is where you want to do your pros and cons list. The next is organizing the speech. This is important because you don't want to go up there and give out your speech and be, so this is blah, 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 and then move on to a random topic that's not even in the same area of the topic you're speaking. Or talk about one story and then add a different story on and a different story on, and just have that. This, when you organize your speech, this is where you're going to have your introduction ready, which is what's going to capture the attention of the audience and the interest. This is your main key point. It could start off with a question, a joke, whatever. Because according to the textbook, when I was reading it, it says it's really important to have this because it's going to lock your audience in. It's going to have them thinking about what your speech is going to be about. You want to surprise them. Also, this, like I said, is your introduction. This is where you're going to introduce your subject as well. The main idea of your subject. What is the subject about? What are like the clues, the little hints about the subject? And then in the body, because it's like a paragraph, it's like an essay basically. You have your introduction, the intro that's going to go into your speech. Then you have your body. Your body is where you want to organize everything in order. You want to have one story here with all the details, but not too much details, because according to the textbook, if you have too much details, the audience is not going to pay attention. You have too much details here, good details, just the main keys, and then flow right into the next one, and flow right into the next one. This is as well as you want to limit. When I said don't add too much, just limit. Just put in the key points. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then in a conclusion, because every essay needs one, this is where you hint your audience, I'm about to finish my speech, and reinforce your subject. Tell them, hey, basically tie up your whole speech how you would for an essay. Be like, find a key way. Hey guys, I'm about to finish my essay. Not my essay, the speech. But not like that. Find like a good transaction. And then I'm going to delete this footage. And then tie up all of that about your subject and this is the rundown. This is what my speech was about. Anyone have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. This is where you do it. And then the second part, this is like part 2 of chapter 4, is delivering your speech. This is when you're about to go off to stage and be like, this is my speech. In this, you want to speak extremously, because many experts recommend using this, because it's going to help you plan out your major points, your supporting material. This is where you're also going to do your plan, where you're going to have your supporting material, but you can't memorize it. This is where you really have to, without looking at the paper and be like, okay. This is where you have to have it locked in memory. This is important because you don't want to go up there with a big sheet of paper and be like, this is what my essay is about. This is blah, blah, blah. This part, when you're about to deliver your speech, it's where it requires you to know the context of the speech, to know what you're talking about, because you don't want to lose audience. You don't want them to be like, what are they talking about? This is, for instance, if this speech is about Iron Man, why are they talking about Captain America? Why are they talking about someone else who's not Iron Man? Why are they talking about a character from DC? They're going to start asking questions. You're going to lose them. Even though it's not good to have like a long sheet of paper, you can have a little index card where you're going to write down the key terms or phrases and be like, when you look at it, you're going to memorize, oh, this is blah, blah, blah. Like Tony Stark, he gave up his life. He gave up his life because he helped, like how the whole movie went down. Oh, he was a playboy genius, how that came to be. It's just keywords that's going to help you memorize your speech and how to deliver it to your audience, and basically pass this information on to the next person. It's like telephone, the game telephone. You pass it on without no miscommunication. And then before you deliver your speech, you have to rehearse it. This is really important because you don't want to go up on the podium and be like, this is my speech. No. You will struggle the first couple of times, But as they say, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more you will get better at it. And then when you rehearsing it will help you build the confidence you need, help you be calm, not freaked out, and be able to say, okay, what can I say? What can I not? Let me repeat that. Does that sound right? And when you rehearse, you always want to ask someone, rehearse in front of your mirror to see how you're going to do it. Rehearse in front of a person. And then when you're done, ask yourself or the person any feedback. Like, how did I do? What can I improve on? Is there anything I need to work on? And then during this rehearsal, you want to also do like a little timer, like have a timer out to see is your speech gonna fit in the time frame. Say, is it too short? Okay, I need to work on it. Is it too long? I need to make it short. You need to figure out what's the time frame and how you can keep it within that time frame, because you don't want to talk too much when you're nervous or talk too little when you're nervous. You want to have that perfect angle. That's what I learned in the rehearsal. And then when you present your speech, you're going to walk up, you're going to get everything ready, this starting of your speech, have everything you need, look at the audience and be like, okay, this is who I'm trying to capture their attention. And then next little bulletin board is hand movements. Do not try and plan it into your speech. If you do not talk with your hands, don't try and force yourself to talk with your hands. I know I talk with my hands a lot because this is how I express myself. Just don't try to overdo it and be like, it's going to look funny. You're going to look like that. So don't try to enforce it if you're not naturally good at it or naturally you don't. And then eye contact. Always remain eye contact with your audience. If you get a little too nervous, just look above their head or to the side of their ear or side of their head. And it's going to look like you're making direct eye contact with them. It's okay. We all get nervous. I get nervous talking to customers at work. I just look in the little corner and be like, okay, this is your total, $13.65. Have a good day. I know it's a little nerve-wracking because a lot of people are not people's person, but yes, that's some ways. And then when you deliver your speech, always be expressive. Always be happy. You're talking about it, but not too happy or too excited. Just like how you would in a conversation. Be like, hey, da 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 da, like, oh, you really, da 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 da, and all this. Just how you have a normal conversation. And then if you ever get nervous, just calm down, take a deep breath before you go. Everyone gets nervous. Trust me, even the biggest athletes who give out press conference, they're nervous. Just breathe in and out, and don't let your nerves get to you, because if you let your nerves get to you, it's going to mess up the whole speech and you're just going to lose your train of thought. So don't focus on your nerves too much. Focus on your audience. Focus on that side of the head, as I like to call it. And then that's it. I hope everyone takes this as a good advice to always be good, to always practice their speeches and just be themselves. That's a key thing, because according to this article I was reading, I forgot who it was written by, it says during the speech, as well as the textbook, just be yourself. Don't try to be a different person. Don't try to be someone you're not. Just be how you would deliver the speech and how you will want others to deliver to you, as I say. So yeah.